You're 17. The uniform they hand you is a little too big and the boots don't quite fit. Nobody asks if you want this. In North Korea, for a boy your age, there's no real way to say no. And the strangest part? You may be close to 27 before that uniform comes off. 10 years. And in all that time, older accounts say you might go home twice. But here's what almost no one outside the country understands. For much of those 10 years, war won't be the only thing you're being used for. This is what those 10 years actually look like, from the inside. At first, it's exactly what you pictured. Ranks, drills, orders shouted before the sun is up, hours of ideological study you're expected to memorize word for word. You're one of well over 1 million, and like most of them, you didn't choose to be here. The Korean People's Army is one of the largest militaries on Earth, and it runs on young men exactly like you. Where you end up isn't really up to you either. Your family's background and how loyal the state believes you are can decide where you're sent and what kind of service you'll face. For now, you tell yourself it's just a few hard years. You don't yet know it could be almost a decade. Then, the days start to blur together. You wake before sunrise. You're still working long after dark. Training, study, and labor on repeat until the schedule stops feeling like a schedule and starts feeling like walls. And you're hungry. Reports describe rations thin enough that hunger becomes part of the job, so your unit is told to grow some of its own food. At first, that seems normal. Soldiers grow vegetables. But that small detail, feeding yourselves, is the first crack in everything you thought this was. By the middle years, the truth is impossible to ignore. The uniform tells you this is about defending your country, but more and more, what they hand you is a shovel. According to UN reporting, defectors and outlets like Reuters, conscripts like you aren't only soldiers. You can also become a labor force. You plant, you harvest, you pour concrete on construction sites. Sometimes you're sent near mines. One former soldier who defected put it simply, the country can't run its farms without the army. Not every unit, not every day. But often enough that you stop feeling like a soldier and start feeling like labor in a uniform. A soldier in name, a worker in practice. This is the decade nobody warned you about in your 20s, spent holding a shovel instead of a rifle. But the hardest part isn't the work. It's what the work is costing you. Older accounts describe home leave so rare that across the entire service, you might see your family only once or twice. Some testimonies describe soldiers who weren't allowed to leave the base at all, with almost no real rest. So picture it. Not 1 year, not 2. Close to 10, the exact years most people use to study, to start a career, to fall in love, to build a life. You're spending them inside a system you didn't design, doing work you didn't choose, while the people you love grow older in photographs you rarely see. Some reports describe exhaustion, hunger, and quiet attempts to get out. By now, it's not hard to understand why. And then, one day, it's over. You're 27, you finally take off the uniform. But the decade doesn't come back with you. The world outside moved on without you. Friends built lives you weren't part of. Your family changed in ways you only half recognize. And the 10 years most people spend becoming who they are, you spent them as someone else's labor in a uniform that was never really about war. In much of the world, military service is counted in months. For you, it took a decade. And much of it may not have looked like an army at all. That's the life you never see. This is Unseen Lives. More hidden worlds are coming. Subscribe. There's a lot you're not seeing.